Preparing for a hurricane is no easy task for any police department. Today I'm not only going to teach you about what the officers do on the front line, but I'm also going to teach you a little bit about the coordination efforts behind the scenes. Hey guys, what is going on? I hope you're having a fantastic week. Y'all, I am tired. I am exhausted right now. Hurricane Dorian is the fourth hurricane I've been through in my life. 3 of those hurricanes that I went through were as an officer. And let me tell you, it drains you. Nobody on this channel has asked me to do a video about the hurricane, but I figured with it just passing, now would be a good time to do a video about it, especially while it's still fresh in my mind. I've been an officer for almost 12 years, and like I said, 3 of the 4 hurricanes that I've been through in my life were as an officer. The first 2 were like boots on the ground, regular patrol officer, but now that I'm in administration, I'm more at the round table, if you will, and I've had an interesting perspective on how things happen behind the scenes with preparation for these major storms. I had no idea before the amount of planning and meetings and everything that went into preparing for a hurricane and hurricane emergency operations. And I have a lot to cover in this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. Most police departments don't necessarily plan for a hurricane unless it's pretty obvious that there's a chance it could hit your area. Organizing efforts to prepare for a hurricane takes an incredible amount of resources. The first thing that happens behind the scenes are meetings. Usually the chief of police or the public information officer will meet with the EMA staff or the EMA director, and EMA just stands for Emergency Management Agency. So the EMA basically has these meetings where all of the heads of all local agencies meet together to try to come up with a plan, or at least be aware of the storm that's coming. So usually this will consist of the city fire chief, the county fire chief, the chief of police for the city, the chief of police for the county, the sheriff, if there's 2 separate ones in your county. And usually in the beginning, this is kind of the point where you guys are keeping your eye on the storm. We started having meetings very early on with the National Weather Service. So basically the National Weather Service sent us a special link. You can click on the link and then you can watch a slideshow presentation that they put on their computer. And then they give you a phone number to call. So this phone number also, you have to enter in an access code to enter into a conference call. So basically the meteorologist will put the information out about the storm through this conference call, and you are watching on a screen what his slides are showing. And a lot of times the meteorologist will include information in this presentation that they're not releasing to the public because they don't want to scare people, but they give you a little bit more of a forecast than maybe the Weather Channel will give you. But again, basically these meetings are just roundtable discussions of, hey, if it heads this way, let's go ahead and start getting prepared for this. In my particular area, we've done this several times, so a lot of these guys already know what they're doing. They already know where they fall in line and at what point they need to be activated. As a major storm approaches, more and more people start attending these meetings. When I first started attending this meeting with the National Weather Service, there was only really a handful of people that were involved in this. But as it became more apparent that the storm might be coming this way, the entire room was just packed with people from different areas. And I'm talking waste management, water and sewer company, the power company. These are all representatives of these different entities. So let's say one of these briefings begins at 8 a.m. Most people get there by like 7:30. They get their coffee, they sit, they start chatting. And then about 5 minutes before the meeting starts, that's when they turn on the projector and they call into the National Weather Service, and we all get ready, and basically you're put on hold until this briefing begins. So when the briefing begins, the meteorologist will come over the intercom. We can all hear him in the room, and he'll basically tell us what's going on, the new forecast of what might be happening with this storm. But he also goes into a lot of details too. So depending on what category, let's say a hurricane is, he'll give you the different levels of storm surge that might be coming into your area, wind gust speeds, things like that. There's a lot of details that are given that the Weather Channel doesn't even give to people on TV. So after several days of these meetings and figuring out, okay, yes, it looks like this storm is coming this way, we then have an executive meeting between commissioners, the chairman, and there's other high-ranking elected officials that are involved in this meeting, and it's usually closed off from the media. This is a private meeting that's held. And usually this room also contains an attorney that works for the county to help develop resolutions. The meeting is usually a couple of hours, and it consists of all the commissioners basically putting in their 2 cents on what they think we should do with the county. What would benefit the citizens the most? Usually the first thing that county officials will do is declare a state of emergency for that particular county. Based on what I heard in these meetings, and I did not know this until I started attending these meetings and taking pictures and things like that, apparently once a county declares a state of emergency, that then gives commissioners and the chairman authority and power that they ordinarily wouldn't have. This gives them the ability to issue things like evacuation orders or to summon the National Guard from different parts of the state to help with relief efforts. After everything is decided on in this meeting, a lot of times the public information personnel, such as myself, we all kind of congregate together and we form a press release to put out to the public and also to the media. So as the storm gets closer, the chief of police can initiate emergency operations. It's then up to the captains to get with their supervisors and change the shifts of the officers. Let's say your department works 12-hour shifts, so there's a total of 4 shifts that work 24 hours a day. Initiating emergency operations for us means condensing those 4 shifts into 2 shifts where all officers are working 12 hours on, 12 hours off, until further notice. So you could be working anywhere from a week to several weeks consecutively, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, once those emergency operation plans are put into effect. And if I'm not mistaken, once that plan is put into effect, all officers that are working, really anybody working the storm, is then covered under what's called emergency pay, which I believe is time and a half, or it's the same as overtime. So basically, throughout the duration of this storm, everybody involved in this operation that works for the county is making overtime. But before that happens with the officers, usually the chief will give the officers kind of the heads up, hey, you need to be available. We're going to announce when you need to be here. Go ahead and take time to get your families out of town, get situated, get all your uniforms ready. I need you here in 24 or 48 hours ready to go. And depending on the severity of the storm, the chief can actually organize a centralized place for the officers to go to whenever they are not on the road. So obviously, if you have a major hurricane coming through, there's going to be lines down, there's going to be tree limbs down. You don't want all the officers at their own house, presumably also without power, and not able to get to work because maybe they're blocked in or something. So a lot of times, like for us, we worked with the school resource officer chief, the SRO chief, and he secured us a high school gymnasium. So basically, whenever there's a major hurricane, there's one central location where all the officers are going to go to. The civilian staff will set up rows and rows and rows of either air mattresses or cots, and they basically say, bring your uniforms, bring your blanket, bring your pillow, get ready to stay here for the long haul. So whenever the officers are done working on the road, they will then go to this central location, like this high school gym. They're usually soaking wet when they come in because by then the storm's usually rolling in. So then the next shift is done eating breakfast, they're suiting up, and they are ready to go out the door. And then usually the location where the officers are sleeping at all day or all night is guarded by more officers. So basically, at any given time during a major disaster, half the officers within a department are on the road, and the other half of the officers are in their t-shirt and shorts and eating breakfast or getting some sleep. Now, on the backside of things, the chief of police can set up what's called an EOC, or an Emergency Operations Center. The EOC is the heartbeat. It's the heart of the entire operation. So for us, we set up our EOC center in an auditorium, and I'll show you guys some pictures here on the screen so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to show you the before picture first, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like with all the people that are inside of it. And again, these are all people that have various jobs. So you might have the director of power company, you might have the director of the water company, you might have the director of the waste company. There's so many people in this room that have so many different roles, but it's crucial for everybody to be in a centralized location like that because this is something they reiterate all the time. You all want to speak with one voice. You all want to be on the same page. And I remember every morning, the EMA director would go around the room and ask each individual entity if they were good to go. You know, are you guys green or are you red right now? You know, is there something we need to fix? Is there something you need to communicate to the other people in the room? Let's all be on the same page. And that is the key to a successful hurricane operation, is having everybody on the same page. Because if you have 40 different entities doing 40 different things, it's going to be mass chaos, and there's not going to be any organization whatsoever in the relief efforts. So it's important for everybody to work together to be on the same page. All police departments need to be on the same page. All fire departments need to be on the same page. Everybody needs to speak with one voice. So up here on the screen, here is a picture of what the EOC looks like with nobody in it. And as you can see from the signs, there are designated spots for the representatives to sit. And a lot of them will bring their own equipment. They'll bring their own laptops and dual monitors, and they'll set up their little workstations because they know that they're going to be there for anywhere from a week to 2. This is also usually where the chiefs of police and the captains for their departments will sit, so they can organize these efforts and stay in communication with the lieutenants and sergeants that are on the road. When the National Guard comes in, like they did for Dorian, there's usually a few officers that are set up in the EOC with the National Guard. So like we had a lieutenant colonel, we had a few lieutenants, and they were coordinating, you know, with their sergeants that were on the road, riding with the officers. So a lot of times National Guard will either be in their own Humvees doing patrols, or they'll hop in with a marked patrol officer and ride these neighborhoods. Usually every morning the briefing with the National Weather Service would start at about 8 o'clock, so a lot of times people would get there by like 6:30 or 7. The civilian staff would set up long tables in the hallways with like muffins and donuts and orange juice, sometimes full-on breakfast. And then they would have crates, I mean, not crates, but like boxes, full boxes of coffee, just lining these tables because they knew everybody was going to be running with caffeine in their veins for the day. So the cool thing about the EOC was at the front, you had this massive screen that could be split up into different quadrants. So one quadrant might show all the current calls that are out in the county that officers are responding to. You might have another quadrant that shows all public county cameras. You might have another quadrant that shows a current live update of what's going on with any type of major storm. You can split the screens up to show pretty much whatever you want. And in our briefings, there were so many people that not only were all of these seats that were designated for representatives full, but there was people lining the wall, standing up. That's how many people were packed into this room every single briefing. So you constantly had phones ringing and people running around and doing things. Of course, I don't wish disaster on anybody, but I thought it was really cool how everybody came together. There's a different sense of camaraderie working the road. You know, you're working the road, you're getting wet, you know, with your partners, and you guys are moving tree limbs and answering calls and things. But when you're working in a command center with people that are making decisions for the county, for the police, for the fire, these are very high up people in the county. And to see everybody work together, you know, a lot of these guys are older. A lot of them have been through several hurricanes together. So they kind of have that, as they call it, battle rhythm going. They every morning they would talk about getting the battle rhythm going. But it was really cool to see everybody coordinate. Luckily in my area it wasn't really affected that much, but we always try to prepare for the worst. And usually once the hurricane is over, the executive team will have another meeting to sign another declaration or resolution, basically saying, we have agreed to allow people back into the county at this time, and we are no longer under a state of emergency. And that is when the emergency pay stops. Everybody goes and gets their equipment out of the EOC, packs it up, gets it into their vans, and they all go back to their respective offices. So anyway, guys, that is it for today. That is how hurricane operation efforts are coordinated, not just with the police department. I actually told you guys about pretty much the entire county. But anyway, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below and I'll try to answer them accordingly. I know I was kind of all over the place. I didn't really want this to be a super long video, but I do appreciate you guys watching. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I am going to edit this and I'm going to get some rest because I am very tired right now. Not as tired as the officers that have had to work the past week, 12-hour shifts, but I would like to relax for a little while. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry it took me so long to put a video out, but now you understand why I was a little late on my newest video. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys very, very soon.